So let's have a nice, calm discussion with our guest, the Vice President of Business and Culture at the Media Research Center, Dan Gainor. Dan, thanks very much for your time. It's so good to have you back here on America's Forum.
Thank you very much. This is news as it's happening, and it's very concerning.
And there are accusations that the Alphabet Network seem to be rooting for violence when the grand jury decision comes down. Why is that?
Well, I mean, they're certainly hyping it beyond, what you would want them to do. When they talk about it being a powder keg, when they talk about, the community's preparing for the worst. Well, their definition of the worst and mine are pretty different because, I mean, I'm from Baltimore, and Baltimore burned in the '68 riots, but, it wasn't, thousands of people were not killed. It didn't look like Hurricane Katrina. I mean, there's always something worse. The media exaggerate it, and I'll be honest, they're hyping it very much like you would see before a big game in the NFL.
And Dan, do you think then that the media's coverage has possibly contributed to the unrest in Ferguson?
Absolutely. When you look over the weekend, there was a small protest in Ferguson where they had a pretty standard left-wing protest, a lay-down protest. They blocked traffic. They drew little chalk outlines around people. It was very peaceful. It was a little more than 100 people, according to media reports. All three networks covered it. Where can you get a little more than 100 people getting national coverage on all three networks? The March for Life is lucky if one network does it, and they get hundreds of thousands. The media want to see this blow up, at least to some extent, because they know they'll get ratings.
Well, let's talk more about that because, look, we know ratings are a reality in television. Heck, we're on television. We hope for good ratings. But the notion of something this important, this crucial, this dangerous, being the backdrop or a rationale for ratings, that essentially, Dan, is a charge of media malpractice, is it not?
Well, yeah, it is. I spent 2 decades in journalism, and I can tell you it would really have bothered me if we were hyping things. And I mean, even on this on CNN, their media show, Brian Stelter from the New York Times, referring to it as in very complicated racial terms, and that invoke and inspire people to get angry instead of, when you use terms like the media have used powder keg or, the worst that can happen, that makes people think that there's going to be war. And you had the quote, the MSNBC quote. They're talking about war. I can't tell you the number of times I've seen media use the war word. That's picking the wrong people and exaggerating the potential danger.
And Dan, no doubt, like we were taught, report the reality when it occurs. Real quick, Dan, 20 seconds here. NBC has promoted Al Sharpton's presence as a peace mission. Do you see it that way?
Absolutely not. Al Sharpton's got an embarrassing and really kind of dangerous racial history going back to to his time in New York and the Tawana Brawley case. The fact that they're doing that is just unconscionable.
And we will have to leave it there. Dan Gainor, I don't guess you're on a peace mission, but you are disclosing what you believe to be not exactly the best practices of the mass media. Thanks so much for your time. And America's Forum will continue here on Newsmax TV.